Okay, I let you guys know if I'm out. I usually make an instructional video so you can still get something out of the day. So you notice that we've skipped to section 1.5. 1.4 would be very hard to do in an instructional video first thing. So I skipped to 1.5. It's a little bit easier than 1.4. And here we go. So perpendicular, you need to write this definition down. It's a line, rays, or segments that intersect at right angles. And these are just examples of different ways you'll see perpendicular. There's your symbol. All right. You may want to get your orange booklet out right now and put in there that we have our orange constructions and notations booklet. And right on the back, here's one that I wanted to add to the back, so you maybe stop the video and do this. This is basically a diagram for supplementary angles, and here's a diagram for two complementary angles. Okay, but to add to our list, so this is just on the back of that front page that we did the other day. So we did all this notation. Oh, I guess we do have that. So I'm not sure exactly where we stopped before, but number 9, if you don't have 8, write down 8, congruent markings. Number 9, we wrote down perpendicular. And the way we write it is DE is perpendicular to EF. But that's the symbol for perpendicular. Number 10, I wouldn't worry about yet. If you did write those down, that's going to be number 11, 12, and that was a repeat. Alright, so back to the problems here. So at the bottom of that page, it talks about do not assume perpendicularity from a diagram. Never assume. I know this looks like it's perpendicular, DE and EF. It looks like it's perpendicular, but if there isn't a box in the corner, you cannot assume that that's a right angle. Okay, midpoint formula is another part of this section of the chapter, and basically the midpoint formula is, in your book it should be right. This is off a little bit, so just let me rewrite it. It's really the 2 x's divided by 2 and the 2 y's divided by 2. I know there might be subscripts in the description up here, but really the subscripts are not even that important. You just add the 2 x's, add the 2 y's, divide by 2, and that will give you the midpoint. Think about on a number line, if you add the 2 numbers, if you're just talking about what's the midpoint between -2 and 10, well, if I do -2 plus 10, I get +8. Divide that by 2, I get 4. So 4 isn't right in the middle between those two. If you think about it, 4 is 6 away from 10, and it's also 6 away from -2. So to find the middle of any 2 numbers, I add them together and divide by 2, basically finding the average. Alright, so you just do that twice to find the middle of the x's, middle of the y's. So let's go. Sample problems. It's asking for the midpoint. It gives you 2 coordinates. Alright, so midpoint equals -1 plus the 7 divided by 2, and the 3 plus the 6 divided by 2. So that's 6 divided by 2 and 9 divided by 2, which is going to equal 4.5. Okay, next one. For some reason my printer didn't quite work here, but it says in triangle ABC, find the coordinates of the points in which the median from A intersects BC. A median is a segment drawn from a vertex of a triangle to the midpoint of the opposite side. Okay, so basically we've got to find the midpoint between these two. It's this fancy, it's asking for this point right here, which is halfway between B and C. So it's just trying to make it seem a lot harder than it is. So the midpoint equals 6 plus 2, add the two x's, divided by 2, add the two y's. That's 8 divided by 2, that's 4. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So that is 4, 7. And that's really all it's asking. It's asking for that point right there. Alright, number 3. It says find the coordinates of G if M is the midpoint of GJ and J is the coordinate of 6, negative 2. Okay, so G is one of the endpoints. Okay, it tells you that the midpoint is 1, 3.5, and then it gives you J equals 6, negative 2. Okay, so here's our unknown right here. It gives you the midpoint, it gives you one of the endpoints, so you have to find the other endpoint. Another way you can look at this is G is an unknown x and y. The midpoint is 1, 3.5. And J, is 6, negative 2. So basically, remember, you add the two endpoints, x plus 6 divided by 2, and y plus negative 2 divided by 2 should equal, we already have what it should equal, 1, 3.5. Okay, so basically I just got to think about this. 2 divided by 2 would give me 1. So it looks like x would have to equal negative 4. Because negative 4 plus 6 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And then think about this. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. So how would I get this top to be 7? 9 plus negative 2 gives me 7. So y must be 9. So the coordinates of G are negative 4, 9. My work is kind of bunched there, so hopefully you were able to follow that. Okay. Can you turn that down? Okay, practice problems. Alright, so basically it says find the coordinates of the midpoint of the segment with the given endpoints. So not overly difficult here. And I'm not going to sit here and show every single one. Give me 1 second. Okay, so the first one, if you do it right, you should get 9.5 and 5.5. Number 2 we'll do together. So add the x's, negative 2 plus 3 divided by 2. 5 plus a negative 17, which is 5 minus 17 divided by 2. So that's 1 divided by 2, that's a half. And then you add these two together, it looks like you get negative 12. Okay, negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. So there's your midpoint. Just checking this one, you get negative 4.2. Really the only way to make this a little bit harder is if I make them decimals. But you do it the same exact way. This one should be negative 8.4 and negative 5.6. Okay, again, you're following along in your booklet, so number 5, even though it's printed a little weird, you should be able to follow along. Now, this is one like we had before, like number 3, I believe it was, in the sample problems. It gives you the coordinates of the midpoint. It says, find the coordinates of the missing endpoint if B is the midpoint in the midpoint of AC. So these are actually your midpoints. Alright, so here we go. My unknown, just write your A or your C as X and Y. Alright, so just write it in there. That's in between them. So I gotta do negative 4 plus X over 2 and 2 plus Y divided by 2. So I added the X's, added the Y's divided by 2. But the key here is I already know what it should be. It should come out 6, negative 1. So think about this. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So to make this 12, this must be 16. 16 plus negative 4 is 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And then I need negative 1. So looks like I need negative 4, or sorry, negative 2 here. So negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. Divided by 2 is negative 1. So you can just kind of talk yourself through that. You know, you could set up a separate equation and solve it through algebra, but I think it's easy enough that you can just look at it. Now down here, number 6. Let's look at number 6. Alright, if you do number 6 correctly, you should get 0, negative 8. Alright, number 7. We'll do number 7 together. So again, C is an unknown. So 4 plus X divided by 2. And then negative 0.25 plus Y over 2 should equal, B is your midpoint, negative 4, 6.5. Now again, not that hard. Negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. So what would X have to be to make this negative 8? Again, negative 12. Negative 12 plus 4 gives you negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. Alright, and then to get 6.5, 13 divided by 2 is 6.5. The way you can get that 13 is 6.5 times 2 is 13. Alright, so how would I make this 13? This isn't overly difficult, just think about it. You would have to have, you need 13.25. Think about that, 13.25 plus negative 0.25, so basically take that off, would give you 13. 13 divided by 2 is 6.5. And then number 8, if you do this one correctly, you should get X equals, if you leave it in fractions, 11 thirds, and Y is 14. Okay, do a couple more here. Find the coordinate of the midpoint of each side of AB. So literally this is just 3 midpoint questions in a row. You got to find the midpoint of AB, BC, and AC. And you do that by using the coordinates, right? So I'll do the first one and then I'll just reveal the answers after that. So -4 plus the 6 divided by 2, and then the 3 plus the 5 divided by 2. So the midpoint of AB, that's 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. That's 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So you get 1, 4. Do the same process for the other ones. You should get 6, 2 and 1, 1. Okay, let's see this one. It says find the coordinates of the point where the median from A intersects BC. Okay, the median cuts the other, so starting at A, it's going to come across and it's going to cut this in half. I didn't draw that very good. So median means it cuts it right in half. So really what it's asking for, what this is asking for, is the midpoint of BC. It's that simple. That's what it's asking. And since that is a pretty simple question, find the midpoint. We could call it M. M equals 7, 2, once you figure that out. All right, so go ahead and think about that. Number 11. Kind of the same thing. If we're talking about, it says find the coordinates of O. Think about O as the center point. It's obviously the midpoint between those 2 points. So O is 7, 6 because it's the midpoint between these two. I mean, you just think about this. 6 plus 8 divided by 2 is the 7. 2 plus 10 divided by 2 is 6. Alright, 17 minutes is getting pretty long. Number 12. It says how much greater than the x-coordinate of midpoint of OA is the x-coordinate of midpoint of AB. So, kind of wordy, right? But you just have to find the midpoint of OA, and that's fairly easy. So midpoint of OA, think about it, halfway between 0 and 12 is 6. Halfway between 0 and 2 is 1. So that one you hardly even had to, you can just think about it. And then the midpoint of AB might take a little bit more thought, but 8 plus 12 divided by 2, that's the two x's. 6 plus 2 divided by 2. So that's 20 divided by 2 is 10. That's 8 divided by 2, that's 4. So it's 10, 4. So it says, how much greater is the x-coordinate of the midpoint of OA is the coordinate of midpoint of AB. So it's asking you to compare these two x-coordinates, 10 to 6. So the x-coordinate of AB is 4 greater than OA's. Alright, I'm afraid I'm going to run out of space here, so just check your answers here. Try your best on 13. I get 6.821 as my answer. Okay, and 14, I get P prime as 15.3. Think about that one sliding along the x-axis. And then number 15, the area of the triangle is 360, 1/2 base times height. We'll give you the area of a triangle, and then what relationship exists among the numbers 9, 41, and 40 and 41. And we haven't done this yet. It's kind of a bonus question. You could say they are Pythagorean triples. Okay, which means basically we know that this ends up being a right triangle because it works with the Pythagorean theorem.